Chapter 4. The First Worm. The huge night crawler sprawled limply in the center of the platter, brown and steaming. Boiled, said Tom. We boiled it. Billy stormed about the barn, kicking barrels and posts, arguing. A night crawler isn't a worm. If it was a worm, it'd be called a worm. A night crawler's a night crawler. Finally, Joe ran off to get his father's dictionary. Nightcrawler. Noun. Earthworm. A large earthworm found on the soil surface at night. Billy kicked a barrel. It still wasn't fair. He didn't care what any dictionary said. Everybody knew the difference between a nightcrawler and a worm. Look at the thing. Ugh. It was as big as a souvenir pencil from the Empire State Building. Ugh. He poked it with his finger. Alan said they agreed right at the start that he and Joe could choose the worms. If Billy was going to cheat, the bet was off. He got up and started for the door. He guessed he had other things to do besides argue all day with a fink. So Tom took Billy aside into a horse stall and put his arm around Billy's shoulders and talked to him about George Cunningham's brother's mini bike and how they could ride it on the trail under the power lines behind Odell's farm, up and down the hills, bounding over rocks, vroom vroom. Sure, it was a big worm, but it'd only be a couple of more bites. Did he want to lose a mini bike over 2 bites? Slap enough mustard and ketchup and horseradish on it, and he wouldn't even taste it. Yeah, said Billy, I could probably eat this one, but I got to eat 15. You can't quit now, said Tom. Look at them. He nodded at Alan and Joe, waiting beside the orange crates. They'll tell everybody you were chicken. It'll be all over school. Come on. He led Billy back to the orange crate, sat him down, tied the napkin around his neck. Alan flourished the knife and fork. Would Monsieur like it carved lengthwise or crosswise? Ketchup? Asked Joe, showing his teeth. Cut it out, said Tom. Here. He glopped ketchup and mustard and horseradish on the nightcrawler, squeezed on a few drops of lemon juice, and salted and peppered it. Billy closed his eyes and opened his mouth. Un with in. Tom sliced off the end of the nightcrawler and forked it up. But just as he was about to poke it into Billy's open mouth, Billy closed his mouth and opened his eyes. No, let me do it. Tom handed him the fork. Billy gazed at the dripping ketchup and mustard, thinking, ugh, it's all right talking about eating worms, but doing it? Tom whispered in his ear, Mini bike. Ugh. Billy poked the fork into his mouth, chewed furiously, gulped, gulped. His eyes crossed, swam, squinched shut. He flapped his arms wildly, and then, opening his eyes, he grinned beautifully up at Tom. Superb, Gaston. Tom cut another piece, ketchup, mustard, salted, peppered, horseradish, and lemoned it, and handed the fork to Billy. Billy slugged it down, smacking his lips. And so they proceeded, now sprinkling on cinnamon and sugar or a bit of cheese, some cracker crumbs, or Worcestershire sauce, until there was nothing on the plate but a few stray dabs of ketchup and mustard. Val, said Billy, standing up and wiping his mouth with his napkin. So, we are done with the first course? Nah, seconds. Let me look in your mouth, said Alan. Yeah, said Joe. See if you swallow it all. Certainly, certainly, said Billy. Look as long as you want. Alan and Joe scrutinized the inside of his mouth. Okay, okay, said Tom. Leave him alone now. Come on, one down, 14 to go. How'd it taste? Asked Alan. Good, good, said Billy. Ver fine. Hoo hoo. He flapped his arms like a big bird and began to hop around the barn, crying, Good, good. Ver fine, good, good. Alan and Joe and Tom looked worried. Oh, yeah, good, good. How you feeling, Billy? Tom asked. Yeah, stop flapping around and come tell us how you're feeling, said Joe. They huddled together by the orange crates as Billy hopped around and around them, flapping his arms. Good, good, we're fine. Hoo hoo, Alan whispered. He's crackers. Joe edged towards the door. Don't let him see we're afraid. Crazy people are like dogs. If they see you're afraid, they'll attack. It couldn't be, whispered Tom, standing his ground. One worm? Good, good, screeched Billy, hopping higher and higher and drooling from the mouth. Come on, whispered Joe to Tom. Hey, Billy, burst out Tom suddenly in a hearty, quavering voice. Cut it out, will you? I want to ask you something. Billy's arms flapped slower. He tiptoed menacingly around Tom, his head cocked on one side, his cheeks puffed out. Tom hugged himself, chuckling nervously. Hey, hey, cut it out, will you? Billy, hey, hey. Billy pounced. Joe and Ellen fled, the barn door banging behind them. Billy rolled on the floor, helpless with laughter. Tom clambered up, brushing himself off. Did you see their faces? Billy said, laughing, climbing over each other out the door. Oh, geez. Joe was as pale as an onion. Yeah, said Tom. Ha, you fooled them. Oh, geez. Billy sat up, then he crawled over to the door and peered out through a knothole. Look at them, peeking up over the stone wall. Watch this. The door swung slowly open. Screeching, Billy hopped onto the doors, into the yard, up onto a stump, splash into a puddle, flapping his arms, rolling his head. Alan and Joe galloped up the hill through the high grass, yelling, Here he comes! Get out of the way! And then Billy stopped hopping and climbing up on the stump, called in a shrill, girlish voice, Oh, boys, where are you going? I'd something there you, little boys. Alan and Joe stopped and looked back. I'd going home, little boys, yelled Billy. I'd scared. Who's scared? You lunk, called Alan. Yeah, yelled Joe. I guess I can go home without being called scared if I want to. But ain't and Adolfo, hurry, shouted Billy. I just remembered I was supposed to help my mother wash windows this afternoon, said Alan. That's all. He turned and started up through the meadow, his hands in his pockets. Yeah, said Joe, me too. He trudged after Alan.